right? What type of law refers to a body of regulations that the government creates to control activities of industries, businesses, and individuals. And what that is administrative law. So administrative law is a type of law that controls activities of industries, businesses, and individuals. Okay? Administrative law. We did go over this one in class. A writ of satori. What's a writ? Maybe we didn't go over this. Okay, a writ is a order. So if you ever see the word writ, W-R-I-T, that means order. Okay? So it's an order, a legal order. So an attorney can write a writ, or a judge can write a writ, W-R-I-T. Okay? So it's an order. So it's not necessarily a court order, it's a legal order. So like if you got arrested, I would hope the first thing your attorney would do was write a writ of habeas corpus. A writ of habeas corpus is basically to get you out of jail. That is your attorney writing a legal order saying, release my client because, and gives all the reasons why. That's a writ of habeas corpus. So this one is a writ of satori. Okay, you're going to have to look that up, but I'll spell it. So it's C as in Charles, E-R-T-I-O-R-A-R-I. And that is, if you remember, we talked about it in class. I know we did, because we talked about appellate courts. This allows appellate courts to review the record of a lower court case. So if you remember, I gave an example of appellate courts. So, if you appeal, let's say you're found guilty in trial, and a jury finds you guilty, the first thing that your attorney's going to do, is write a writ of satori so that your case can be reviewed by an appellate court. You're appealing your verdict. You're saying, hey, I'm innocent. You just convicted an innocent man, so I want a new trial. So that's where you go and you appeal it. So that's what a writ of satori is. That's what your defense attorney will file. It allows an appellate court to review the record of a lower court case. So that means allowing another court to look at your case for any mistakes. Which of the following is not, underline and bold, an example of procedural defense? Which of the following is not an example of a procedural defense? So what is a procedural defense? It's also in the book, but we talked a little bit about it in class, okay? So, is police fraud an example of procedural defense? Yes. Yes. Remember I said a defense attorney is going to try to attack and go after something that the police did wrong. And what did I use? I used the example of the movie, the documentary. Okay? So I used that. I talked about that when we talked about the documentary. Okay? Prosecutorial misconduct. Yes, very good. Double jeopardy. Does anyone know what double jeopardy is? You have to read the book for that one. Did we talk about double jeopardy in class? No. Okay, so what's double jeopardy?
Isn't it when you get put on trial for the same case, like twice?
Close. Very, very close. Actually, probably about 80%, almost 90% correct. So here's the thing. Let's say my wife sets me up for murder. And she fakes her own death and implicates me as the murderer, literally puts my hand in the, drugs me, puts the knife in my hand. I wake up, blood all over me, knife in my hand, and there's blood stains all over. My wife's missing, so the police think what? I killed my wife, okay? But my wife decides to take a long extended vacation in the Bahamas and is living it up. Cleans out our bank accounts, takes all the money, sells all our, stocks and everything, and is living in a beautiful house in the Bahamas, okay? And I'm in prison. I get out for good behavior in 15 years. and I find her, and I kill her. I'm thinking, look, lady, I just did 15 years because of you, so I'm going to kill you. I'm really going to kill you now. Can I get tried again? That's double jeopardy. So yes, I could get away with murder. I could kill her. I could kill her in the courtyard of the courthouse. I could literally walk her up to in front of a judge, slash her throat, and go, neener, neener, you can't do nothing to me. Why? Because it's double jeopardy. I could kill her in front of a room full of police officers, and they couldn't arrest me. Okay? That's double jeopardy. Okay? They've done a lot of movies on that. Okay? It's been like the theme of several movies. Okay? So that would be double jeopardy. So is double jeopardy an example of a prosecutorial defense? Yes. What about eyewitness identification? Which is that prosecutorial defense? No, so that's your answer. Eyewitness identification is not an example of, is not a defense, is not an example of a proper defense, okay? Eyewitness identification, okay? Where is the nation's largest law enforcement agency with about 34,000 full-time sworn officers? Very good, New York. New York is the largest police department. One example of violent crime is, and I'll give you some examples. So tell me if this is a violent crime. Motor vehicle theft. No. Burglary. No, because there's no person. Can you rob a house without a person there? Yeah, so you could. So that's burglary, not robbery. Don't get robbery and burglary different. Robbery, you're taking it from a person. Burglary, you're breaking into somebody's house or car and stealing property, right? So burglary, not violent. What about larceny theft? We didn't talk about that, but larceny theft, or maybe we did. Larceny theft is what? Shoplifting. That's just a really very long worded way of saying shoplifting. Larceny theft is shoplifting. Is shoplifting a violent crime? No. What about forcible rape?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. See how easy that was? So I gave you some options. So you guys are going to go, well, motor vehicle's not. Burglary will throw you off. But don't get burglary and robbery mixed up. Robbery is a violent crime. Forcible rape, you guys should be like, ding, 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 ding. There's the answer. Okay? This one I did put on the board. So this was right on the board when we did our Latin. And I spelled it out for you. The principle of recognizing previous court decisions as precedents to guide future deliberations is called what? And it's Latin for let the decision stand. Very good. See? That's it. That's the answer. Let the decision stand. Very decisive. Okay. The question again, so I'm going to ask to repeat it. The principle of recognizing previous decisions, which are court decisions, as precedents to guide future deliberations is called stare decisis, which is in Latin, let the decision stand. Okay? This one's right out of the book. A centralized law enforcement agency is what? So what does that mean? So that was in bold letters in your book, centralized law enforcement agencies. And that is basically one that has what? It's basically state police departments. State police officers are what we call a centralized law enforcement agency. They do everything. They combine criminal investigations with patrol of the state highways. Okay? So There's 50 state police agencies. They are all considered centralized law enforcement. That means they do everything. Okay? So, even though you guys look at the highway patrol as a bunch of meter maids in black and whites that drive around and really aren't cops, I've had people tell me that many times. I've actually had LAPD officers tell me that a lot. You guys aren't real cops. Or my favorite, this is my favorite, I had a sheriff's deputy call me AAA with a badge, or AAA with a gun. AAA with a gun, the sheriff's deputy. But when it's all said and done, the one who has the most authority, law enforcement, the highest ranking law enforcement authority in the state of California is the AAA with a gun, which is Highway Patrol. Even though it says highway, they can do everything, okay? Because they're the state police. You only have one state police agency, and that's your Highway Patrol. Arizona Highway Patrol is the state police for Arizona. Washington State Highway Patrol is the state police for Washington. Same thing with Oregon, Montana, Nevada. The only difference would be Texas and Arizona have it broken down. Texas and Arizona have the Department of Public Safety. And then they have a highway patrol, they have the Texas Rangers, they have everything broken down, but it's still one agency. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's centralized. And it's centralized because it's under one person. Who is that one person? The governor. Okay, so the governor of the state of California commands the highway patrol. Yes?
Is that the same with state troopers?
Mm-hmm. Your highway patrol officers had an opportunity to be called state troopers, like super troopers. You guys have seen that movie and laughed at that, right? They could have been troopers or they could have been officers. So your highway patrol officers, all 8,000 of them voted, and 90% wanted the word officer, because they felt that you guys wouldn't know what a trooper is. If I put trooper on the side of a car, you'd be like, what the hell is that? Okay? So everyone knows what an officer is. So that's why they voted for that. Okay? So a little bit of background. Okay, you guys know this because I put it on the board. We did an exercise. All right. Blank is the philosophy of law. Blank is the philosophy of law. What is the philosophy of law? Remember we did the Latin, so it's juris, as in jury, or jurisprudence. So I'm going to spell jurisprudence so you have it, so some of you guys didn't write it down. So jurisprudence is J-U-R-I-S-P-R-U, D as in David, E-N-C-E. Jurisprudence is defined as the philosophy of law. Okay? If you ever see anything with a J-U-R-I-S in it, that is Latin for law. Okay? Like jury. You know what a jury is. Okay? The body of people, okay, for law. Okay? So, just remember, jurisprudence is the philosophy of law. Okay. Which of the following terms is defined as an ideal that embraces all aspects of civilized life? This is out of the book. It's in either 1 or 2, and it's actually in bold letters. Which term is defined as an ideal that embraces all aspects of civilized life? And the answer is social justice. Social justice is an ideal that embraces all aspects of civilized life. Social justice. What landmark case allows a peace officer, this was on the board, what landmark case allows a peace officer to detain and search a person without a warrant or probable cause? Very good. You guys all got it right. It's Terry. Terry versus Ohio. Remember I put it on there. Terry pat down. Okay? So Terry pat down. So Terry versus Ohio. Which stage in the criminal justice process involves taking pictures and fingerprints of the suspect? We talked about this during the film, when they did something to Juan Catalan. It is during what process? What process? When you get arrested, when do they take your photograph and fingerprints? Say it out loud. There you go, that's your answer. When you get arrested and you're taken to jail, and they take your photograph, you've seen it, the mugshot. You call it a mugshot. Let's just say it, a mugshot, and they do your fingerprints. When are they doing that? During what process? The booking process, right? That's when you're being booked into jail. That's the booking process. And hopefully none of you will ever experience that. Yes.
What's the question?
So I'll say it again. Which stage in the criminal justice process involves taking pictures and fingerprints of the suspect? Okay? Or it could be arrested, or the arrestee. Suspect or arrestee. Blank is the scientific study of the causes and prevention of crime and rehabilitation and punishment of offenders. What is that? That's in your book. That's like at the beginning of your book. It's the definition of this class. What is that?
Criminal law.
Say it out loud. I heard someone say it.
Administrative.
Huh? I heard someone, it starts with a C.
Criminal law.
Criminal justice, right, or criminology. Because ology is what? The study of. So criminology is the study of crime. Okay? So the question is, blank is the scientific study of the causes and prevention of crime and the rehabilitation and punishment of offenders. That's criminology. Which part of the law specifies the methods to be used in enforcing substantive law? You have to read, this is right out of the book. So I'll say it again. Which part of the law specifies the methods to be used in enforcing substantive law? Okay? So when you read, you should be thinking, well, what the bleep is substantive law? And then whenever you see methods, you know that has to be procedures, right? So if you see methods, that's procedures. So if you had to guess, it would be probably procedural law. So the answer is procedural law. Procedural law specifies the methods to be used in enforcing substantive law. And if you don't know what substantive law is, go to your book and look it up. It's actually one of those things that's in bold. And in your book, it actually might be even a pop-out. It's one of those pop-out things. Yeah, very good. Okay? We're on number 15 now. The weapons used most often to commit murder are? Very good. Okay? Which crime best describes an attempt to overthrow the government of the society of which one is a member?
Treason.
Yep, say it out loud.
Treason.
Treason. Okay? Treason.
Treason what?
Which crime best describes an attempt to overthrow the government of the society of which one is a member? So you have to be a part of that community in order to be convicted of treason. Because if you're not part of the community, then it's not treason, right? It's something else. Right. That's too much. Okay? All right. Which of the following is a procedural defense? Oh, I just gave you this again. It's a, you know what? It's double jeopardy. It's the same. I actually gave the same question twice. So you guys will get a freebie then. If you get one right, you're gonna get them both right. Okay? It's the same exact question. Okay? It's double jeopardy. The most cited reason why rape victims do not report crimes is
Fear.
exactly. So the answer would be embarrassment about the crime itself. Correct? So you have, here's your options. And you'll see how I pretty much give you the answer. One is embarrassment about the crime itself. The next one would be a fear of reprisal. That could be, right? Maybe. This one's right out of Law and Order SVU. So if you guys like watching Law and Order, this is one that one of the persons actually said. The belief that the police can't do anything. Okay? And then the last one is exploitation by the criminal justice system. I made that one. Okay? So see how it sticks out? Embarrassment about the crime itself. Okay. All right, so that's the answer, embarrassment about the crime itself. Okay, so this one's a little bit tricky. In people versus party, like you're gonna party, but instead of a Y, it's got two E's at the end. So it's P-A-R-T-E-E. The court ruled that a person who refuses to testify in the face of a valid subpoena can be punished for blank, but is not guilty of blank. So here's what, okay, so here's the case. And we briefly talked about it, but we didn't spend a lot of time. I should have probably spent a whole day on this, but we were really short on time. If I observe, okay, she robs a bank, because she's sitting close to me, so I'm just gonna pick on her, okay? So she robs a bank, and I'm the getaway driver. The police can't find her, but they catch me because they got my license plate. So they arrest me. Now let's say she's my cousin, okay? And they put pressure on me to rat her out. But I'm like, screw that. I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know anything about it. I don't know who robbed that bank. I don't know who she is. Okay? And they keep putting pressure on me. Can I be charged as an accessory? Or can they punish me and charge me for violating the subpoena and put me in contempt of court? So what do you guys think? Can I be charged as an accessory?
Yeah.
No. Only recourse, if I don't want to give her up, the only recourse, if I ignore a court order or a subpoena from a judge, is I can be charged with contempt. So that is a law. See how when you guys watch TV, what happens? You're charged as an accessory. Because you helped commit the crime. Okay? In this particular case, the answer is actually no. In People versus Party, the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, you can't go after me for a charge of accessory and try to frame me for an accessory. The only thing you can get me, if I don't roll over on her, is all you can get me on is contempt of court. Okay? Now, the reason why I know we touched lightly on it is, remember I gave you an example of an attorney in Encino who spent a year in jail for contempt. That was the example why. Now I'm starting to remember. You guys remember that conversation, that discussion? Okay. So remember, contempt is the only thing the court has on me. So I don't have to rat her out. And if she's my cousin, I probably won't want to, right? Because my aunts will come down on me, my mother will come down on me like a ton of bricks, right? Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so the answer is what?
Contempt.
Contempt of court and accessory. Contempt of court and accessory. So all I can be punished for is contempt of court, but I am not guilty of accessory to the crime. So the answer is contempt of court and accessory. Next, number 20, unreasonable searches and seizures are prohibited by what amendment? Fourth Amendment. Remember, we talked about that a lot. Fourth Amendment, unreasonable search and seizure, that's your protection. Okay? Mens rea is most clearly present when a person acts
With a guilty mind.
knowingly, right? Okay, has knowledge. Remember, guilty mind. Mens rea means guilty mind. Okay? So your answers would be, these are your options on this multiple choice. Knowingly, recklessly, negligently, accidentally. Accidentally is not, because that's actus reus. Negligently is also actus reus. And recklessly would be what? Actus reus. So knowingly is the only option for mens rea. Because you have to have knowledge, a guilty mind. Okay? 22. Which of the following is not one of the three major levels of law enforcement? So the three types of law enforcement. We have, your options are state, district, local, federal. What do you guys think? Out of the four, what sticks out? District, right? Yes, it's district. Because do you have federal law enforcement? Do you have state law enforcement? I just told you about one. And then you have local, right? Law enforcement. Do we have district law enforcement? No. Unless you're watching a movie. But no, district. It doesn't exist. Okay? Like the District of Columbia, their police would be local police, right? In case of indictment, who hears evidence presented by the prosecutor and decides whether the case should go to trial? I gave you two examples. Do you remember this? No. I said in California we don't use this system. And thank God for Juan Catalan, we don't use this system because Juan would have been in jail. Pretty close. Grand jury. A grand jury, remember I gave you an example. A grand jury is when a prosecutor presents the evidence to 12 members of the community, and those 12 members decide if it goes for trial or not. If you remember what I said, the problem with grand juries and why we don't use them in California is, can you have a defense attorney present during a grand jury? And it's no. So in California, we do not use grand juries, we use a preliminary hearing. A prelim. What you saw on the documentary, what Juan Catalan was going through, was a preliminary hearing, which is heard by a judge, and the defense attorney and the prosecutor can present facts. That's more equitable, because then your voice is being heard. You're not getting railroaded. Grand juries typically railroad people. New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Florida love grand juries. Okay? So what does that mean? Don't commit crimes in those states, because they always go to grand juries. All right? And you don't have the option of having a defense attorney give your version of the facts. Okay? You're kind of screwed. All right? So, grand jury is the answer to that one. Probable cause is what? This is the question. Probable cause is blank. What is probable cause?
Fact that a crime had occurred.
Very good. Remember, it's a set of facts. This is the definition. This is the legal definition of probable cause. A set of facts that causes a reasonable person to believe that a person committed a specific crime. Whenever you see the word facts, that's always gonna be probable cause. What's reasonable suspicion? Beliefs. One is beliefs, one is facts. So remember, probable cause is facts. So if you see the word facts, you know it's probable cause. Okay. Which law enforcement official is responsible for serving court papers, maintaining security within the courtrooms, and, here's the big kicker, running the county jail? Who runs the county jail?
Sheriff.
Very good. So remember, as much as you think, because LA County Sheriffs is everywhere, and they do everything, their primary purpose is the jail. Okay? We have the police departments to do policing. But the sheriff, primary purpose is the jails. That's why if you guys want to be sheriff's deputies, and you get hired by the sheriff's department, guess how much time you do in the jails before you get to go to patrol? About 5 to 7. 5 to 7 years. That's a long frickin' time to be doing 12-hour shifts in jail, okay? All right? That was the main reason why I didn't go to the sheriff's department. I was not gonna do a 5-year stint in jail. That's basically what you're doing, right? Are you serving time like everybody else? Yeah, you just get to go home and sleep in your own bed. While they stay there, you get to go home, but guess what? 12 hours there is like doing time there, okay? And I'm gonna show you a video of what the county jail looks like, and you're gonna be like, yeah, I'm not gonna go work for them. Nothing against the sheriff's department, and I apologize if anyone has friends that work for the sheriff's department, but yeah, 7 years, 5 to 7 years in the jail. Well, you're physically there, because you gotta be there. Oh, yeah, right? Yeah, 12-hour shifts. Yeah. Trust me, I would rather drive a black and white with my hair on fire, going 100 miles an hour down the freeway on an 8-hour shift than doing 12 hours walking around the jail. Would you guys all agree?
Yeah.
That's what I did for 25 years, okay? And my very first patrol car was a Ford Mustang with manual transmission. Yeah, your assignment car. But trust me, I was the happiest person on the planet, because I'm getting paid to drive a Mustang all day for 8 hours, you know? Yeah, and occasionally I have to pull people over. I mean, I was like, okay, I'm getting paid for that, that's awesome. Okay, so, number 26. Which of the following refers to improper or illegal inducement to crime by enforcement agents? I put this in here because it ties into the movie again. This is the documentary. Which of the following refers to improper or illegal inducement to a crime by enforcement agents? Enforcement agents are what? Police officers. Okay? So your options are prosecutorial misconduct. You know that's wrong, because police officers aren't prosecutors, so cross that out. Okay? Police fraud. Could be, it's pretty close, but that doesn't sound right, right? Because that's not inducement. What's inducement to a crime? Making you confess to a crime you didn't commit. So what does that sound like?
False.
It starts with an E. How about entrapment? Okay. What were they doing with Juan Calon when he was in the interrogation room? Yeah. What? I didn't kill anybody. Kill somebody? I didn't kill anybody. Remember? And you heard that over and over again. Okay? They were entrapping him. And in the video that you saw, subsequent video of the interviews of the officers, they admitted it. Okay? That's why he got $330,000. Should have got millions, but he got $330,000. Okay. Which model? No, we're done. So that one's entrapment.
Oh,
Entrapment. Yeah. Which model? So there's two models. Which model assumes that the system's subcomponents, this is chapter 1, work together harmoniously to achieve the social product we call justice. So I'm going to tell you, so look at the word. So is it conflict model? And I gave you an example. Conflict model is what we have in the courts, right? Adversarial relationship, prosecutor against defense attorney. Remember I talked about that in class. So it's not conflict because they're working against each other. What about crime control model? No, because I made that up. All right? What about due process model? No. What about consensus model? Yes. Consensus means working together. Okay? So the answer to that one is consensus model. All right, now this comes back to chapter 2. All of the following are part 1 offenses except. So remember how they break crimes up into part 1 and part 2? So part 1 would, give me an example of a part 1 crime. Murder. What's a part 2 crime? Larceny, right? Someone said larceny over here. So like shoplifting would be part 2. Or forgery would be part 2. Okay? So now you know. So part 1 is serious. Part 2, not so serious, but still a crime. So all of the following are part 1 offenses except, big bold letters, except. Robbery. Is that part 1 or part 2? Part 1. Robbery, not burglary. Robbery. Because you got to take something away, right? So you're taking away something from a person. That's robbing. Robbery. Murder. Part 1. Rape. Fraud. There you go. So you can see how it sticks out. I made that pretty easy. Okay? So just remember, part 1 is serious. Part 2, not so serious. And remember, don't get robbery and burglary mixed up. Robbery, you're taking away, forcibly taking away from somebody. Burglary, you're just stealing property. Yeah.
So would burglary be part 2 or part 1?
What do you guys think? Is burglary part 1 or part 2?
Part 1, 2.
2, part 2.
So that one's going in and the robber's doing stuff?
Robbery, you're taking from somebody.
Yeah.
Okay? So you're physically taking from somebody. Burglary, there's no person. There's no human being involved. You're breaking into a classroom. You're breaking into a building. You're breaking into a car. You're stealing from a car. You're stealing from a building. You're stealing from a house. You're not stealing from a person. See the difference? You steal from a person, that's robbery. You steal from a structure or a thing or a place, that's burglary. I'm trying to oversimplify it, yes.
In the book, it said burglary was a part 1 thing.
Okay, I have to look that up.
Okay.
Okay, so if he's right, then it's burglary is part 1. Okay, I have to look that up. So if he says burglary is part 1, it's part 1. Remember I told you, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys. I'm not infallible, I'm a person. So I make mistakes like everybody else, okay? So he says, I'm pointing to him, okay, because he's the one that said it. He said burglary is part 1. Okay, so you own it. Okay? All right. Which of the following is not an element of crime? Which of the following is not an element of crime? All right? So you've got an example of concurrence of act and intent. Yeah, right? What is that? Mens rea, right? Okay. The criminal act. Yeah, obviously. It's got to be an element. Mental state. Yes. What about motive for the crime? No. Believe it or not, motive for the crime is not an element of the crime. So what is element? Remember I told you, what's the Latin for element of the crime? Say it out loud.
Corpus delicti.
Corpus delicti. Remember when I put it on the board? Corpus delicti, elements of the crime. So that's what we're talking about. Elements of the crime, corpus delicti. Okay? So remember, the motive is not. Motive goes to what? Intent. So remember, one of your options was concurrence of act and intent. So I was trying to throw you off a little bit, okay? So the answer to that one is not an element of the crime, is motive for the crime. All right, number 30. Which of the following refers to a traditional body of unwritten historical precedents created by everyday social customs, rules, and practices?
You could charge it right there.
Very good. Common law. And I gave you an example. What was the example? Do you guys remember what the example I gave in class? If you lived together for 7 years or more, in some states, you were considered common law marriage. That's a common law marriage. So if you moved to Texas, Arizona, or New Mexico, and Colorado, if you live with your significant other for 7 years or more, you are legally married. Yeah. So what does that mean? Move out in year 6. Okay? All right? Move out in year 6 and then you move back in. Okay? Or get married. Whatever the two. But your common law in those states. Okay? California, remember I said this in class? California does not acknowledge common law. All right? So you can live with your significant other for 15, 20 years. All right? And you're not married. All right. At a preliminary hearing, the judge will do what? We just talked about it. In a preliminary hearing, a judge will decide what? It will go to trial, remember? If it will move forward. So grand jury decides if it's going to move forward. In a preliminary hearing, it's the judge. So I want you to picture the long shot, the movie again, and picture that judge. Remember she said Judge Leslie Dunn. Judge Dunn said, I vacillated over this. Okay? So Judge Dunn was the one who decided Juan did not commit the crime. Okay? This one's easy. I threw this in here. Phishing, which is Phishing, is a form of what type of crime? Phishing. What's phishing, first of all? PH. Not FISH. PH. You guys have heard it all the time.
Is it kind of like burglary or robbery?
When I'm fishing in your system, what am I doing? I am.
Two offense.
It's a computer crime, you guys, right? Phishing, Phishing. What kind of crime is that? Is it a hate crime? Is it a corporate crime? Is it a violent crime?
No.
It's a cyber crime, which makes it a computer crime, right? Okay. All right. I thought you guys would get that automatically. I figured like phishing is like assuming identity. It's like grabbing information. You're fishing on a fishing expedition. Yeah. That's what that term is when you're using it in the computer realm. Okay? The unlawful taking or attempted taking of property that is in the immediate possession of another by force or threat of force is known as?
Robbery.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Tax laws, building codes, health codes are examples of what type of law? Tax codes, tax laws, building codes, like when you build a room, it has to have a door, it has to, okay. Health codes, like all people that work in restaurants must wash their hands before going back to work, okay? Are examples of what type of law? Here's your examples. I'll give you your options. Is it a criminal law?
No.
Is it procedural law?
No.
No, very good. Is it natural law?
No.
I made that up, by the way, okay? Is it administrative law?
Yes.
It's administrative law, okay? So the answer is administrative law. which of the following violations is not a misdemeanor? Not underlined. A, disturbing the peace, is that a misdemeanor?
Yes.
Yes. 415 of the penal code is a misdemeanor. Disorderly conduct, that's also 415 of the penal code. Is that a misdemeanor?
Is what? I'm sorry.
415 of the penal code is disturbing the peace or disorderly conduct. Do you know what disorderly conduct is? Can anyone give me an example of disorderly conduct?
Isn't it like a small, or when,
If I went out to the alleyway right here, right across from the recycling guy, and I decided to unzip and pee right there, against the wall. Pee along the wall, would that be disorderly conduct?
Yeah.
That's disorderly conduct. If you pull your car off to the side of the road and you start taking a leak, okay, because you just couldn't wait, the highway patrol officer would cite you for disorderly conduct, okay? That's an actual law, okay? So disorderly conduct, it's a misdemeanor. Disturbing the peace, what's disturbing the peace?
Harassing,
Huh?
harassing.
No, that's actually not, that's a whole, another section. Disturbing the peace would be like standing on the corner with a bullhorn and yelling at every person passing by, calling them every freaking piece of profanity you possibly could think of. Would that be disturbing the peace? Yes. Okay, yes.
So like throwing a party and it being really loud, is that disturbing?
It can be depending on the city and the county. So some cities don't have local ordinance. So LA City and LA County actually have an ordinance for music, loud music. Okay, so you would be cited for that section, not disturbing the peace. But if you lived up in like Humboldt, you know, what we call the marijuana triangle up there, well, they don't have anything like that. So you would be cited for disturbing the peace. Okay? So keep that in mind. So it depends on the cities. So cities and counties have their own small ordinances. If it doesn't have one, then you would be charged with the state law, which is disturbing the peace. Okay? Good question. All right, so next one, 36. Which of the following is not a violation of a misdemeanor? So disturbing the peace. Oh, I'm sorry. So you've got disturbing the peace, which is a misdemeanor. Disorderly conduct in public, okay, misdemeanor. Simple assault. Simple assault.
No.
So there's two types of assault. Simple is me pushing her. That's simple assault. Okay? Alright? It becomes battery, assault and battery, if I push her and start hitting her. Then it becomes aggravated assault and battery. So that's a fight. Aggravated assault and battery is a fight. Is that a misdemeanor? No, it's actually a wobbler. It depends on how much damage I do to her. If I break a bone, that's a felony. If I don't break a bone, it could be a high-grade misdemeanor. Okay, so it depends on how much damage we do. So, simple assault, me just pushing her. Okay? Misdemeanor or felony? Misdemeanor. Okay, so now, last is robbery. Misdemeanor or felony?
Felony.
Felony. Okay. So the answer is robbery. That's okay. No, I'm glad you said it. Please speak up. Speak up, speak up. Okay. The assumption that criminal acts injure not just individuals, but society as a whole is fundamental to which of the following laws? Okay, so I'm going to repeat it again. The assumption that criminal acts injure not just individuals, but society as a whole is fundamental to which of the following laws? So procedural law. Let me just tell you what procedural law is, by the way. Procedural law is the evidence code. So procedural law is that if I'm going to take a gun and book it into evidence, it's gotta be in a bag, right? It's gotta be sealed, okay? It's gotta be analyzed, that's procedural law, that's the evidence code, okay? So it's not procedural law, right? Is it civil law? What's civil law?
Just with divorces.
Correct. Deals with divorces, contracts. Oops, I fell in the hallway, slipped on a water patch. I'm gonna hire Larry H. Parker to represent me. Remember, I gave that example? That's civil law. Okay? We call them ambulance chasers. Civil law. Okay, that's what you see on TV all the time. We'll sue whoever you want. Okay, that's civil law. Administrative law, we already know what that is, right? So it's not that. What about criminal law? Yes. Okay? Anything that has to do with criminal acts to injure individuals or a society is criminal law. That's the definition of criminal law. Okay? Which type of law covers practices in the areas of custom, immigration, and product safety? What type of law covers customs? What is customs? Like border, ICE, immigration, custom enforcement, immigration, and product safety. So product safety would be like the Pinto. You guys even remember what that car was? The exploding car, the Pinto. You rear end that car and that thing like a bomb blows up. Okay? Product safety. The reason why we don't have Pintos anymore. Okay? What type of law? Is it criminal law? No. Natural law? No. Procedural law? No, because I told you what procedural law is. It's like the evidence code, remember? So it's administrative law, right? Administrative law. Remember, I even gave you an example. I said there's actual administrative courts. Okay? The killing of 4 or more victims at one location within one event is termed as a
Mass murder.
thank you, mass murder. The key is one location, one event. Multiple locations and multiple events are what? Serial, correct. All right? So serial killing is multiple locations, multiple events. One event, one location, 4 or more victims. That's sad. So if you have 3 people that die, that's not a mass killing. Unfortunately. It's not a mass murder. Okay, it's just it's a really bad day. Okay? All right? It has to be, the definition is 4 or more. Don't ask me who came up with that. 4 is the magic number. Okay, the blank is based on victims' reports rather than police reports. Okay? What did you say? Say it again. Yes. So it's NCVS, National Crime Victimization Survey. So NC is in Charles, V is in Victor, S is in Sam. National Crime Victimization Survey. All right, so there's 2 types of gauging. So remember I gave you this example. When Simi Valley says we're the safest city in the nation, what is that based on? And that's based on what? The National Incident-Based Reporting System, or NEBRS. Or it could be on the UCR, Uniform Crime Reporting System. But is that accurate? No. The more accurate is based on the victims. Remember, in order to have a crime, you must have a victim. No victim, no crime. Okay? What type of terrorism describes the unlawful use of force or violence by a group whose activities transcend national boundaries? Are they national terrorism, domestic terrorist, traditional terrorist? I threw that in there, there's no such thing. Or international terrorist? International, right? Because they transcend borders.
International?
International, right? International. They transcend national boundaries. That makes them international. Almost done, guys. All right. Now this one, we may not have touched base on it, so I'm just gonna tell you what it is. We didn't touch base on warrants yet. Okay, so you were supposed to read it, but we didn't really touch base on it. Okay, so I may just give this one to you. All right, there are several types of court-issued warrants. What type of warrant does not have a time limit for execution? Yeah, we didn't talk about this one, okay? So there's several types of court-issued warrants. What type of warrant does not have a time limit for execution? And the answer is a Ramey warrant, R-A-M-E-Y warrant. So a search warrant has a time restriction. You must complete it by the date and the time that's listed on the warrant. An arrest warrant has a time restriction. Okay, you must arrest the person by this date and time. Okay.
How do you spell that? I'm sorry.
Ramey is
Uh-huh.
R-A-M-E-Y. Ramey warrant does not have any time restriction. So, God help you if you have a Ramey warrant for your arrest, there is no restriction on that. It can live indefinitely. Okay, so there are warrants like that, yes.
Could the police like get another warrant for the same thing?
So if I got a search warrant, and for whatever reason, I couldn't serve it because of environmental issues, it's raining, it's snowing, okay, the area in question was flooded, all right, I would have to reapply all over again. I would have to fill out all the paperwork, everything. I can't just cut and paste. I can't sit there and just go, okay, little whiteout, and change the dates. Can't do that. You have to do the whole thing all over again. Yes?
Is there a specific guideline to when you can get it, or can anyone just order one anytime?
So the answer is there any, when can you get warrants? So here in Los Angeles County, there is a judge, a warrant judge available 24 hours a day. The judges are on call for 12-hour shifts. Okay? So they have 12-hour shifts, and they're the on-call judge for that 12 hours, and then they don't have to do it again for a whole week. So every judge in LA County has to be on call for 12 hours for a particular day during the calendar. But once they do it, they're off for a whole week. They can't do it again for one whole week. Okay, which is kind of nice. All right, and 12 hours is not that bad unless it's the 12 hours during the night. So if you have 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., that sucks. But if you have 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., not too bad, right? Because that's your regular court hours. Okay, and it's based on seniority. So if she's the judge for 20 years and I'm the judge since breakfast, okay, what shift am I getting? I'm getting the 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. while she gets the 12 a.m. to 12, the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay? So I get screwed and she gets the nicer hours. Okay? See how that works? Based on seniority. So the more time you have on, just like teachers, the more time you have on, the better shifts you get. Okay? So that's for judges. Now, if I'm a police officer, do I have to go to the on-call judge? No. In my 25 years, I didn't. I never went to an on-call judge because I happen to know 3 judges. 3 judges were friends of mine. One of them actually teaches criminal law over at Pierce College, Judge Scher, out of San Fernando. Okay? We both started teaching at the same time. Okay? So would I have to go to the on-call judge if I'm friends with Judge Scher? No. I just call Judge Scher, say, hey, Your Honor, I need a search warrant for a trunk. And if he knows me really well, sometimes he'll just say, all right, Leland, just send me the details later. Here's the date and the time, and here's my number. Every judge has a number, just like a police officer has a badge number. Every judge has an ID number. You take their ID number, you date and the time, and then you put it on an electronic warrant, and you're set. And I'm good to go. Okay? And that's what I usually did. I had 3 judges that I would call. I never went to the on-call judge. Most officers, the older officers, the ones who've got seniority, usually have judges that they know and they're friends with. And so we just do it that way. Okay? So you can, if you're a new officer, if you're a rookie, or you're just somebody that's new to the area, you may use the on-call judge. Okay. But what's the reason why I wouldn't use the on-call judge? Who else is using it? There's 1,200 LAPD officers in the valley. Okay? So at any given time, I could call the on-call judge, and have you ever been on a hold and it says you're number 25, you're number 10? Yeah, I've called and said you're number 60, and put on hold and wait until he gets to you. So that's why a lot of officers don't use the on-call judge, because everybody's calling, not just LAPD, the Highway Patrol, Glendale PD. Remember, it's for the whole county. Okay, Beverly Hills PD, everyone's calling the on-call judge. It's one judge. One judge for the county.
Are they open all the time?
24 hours. Yeah. So,
People would call like 2 a.m.
yeah, you can get a 2, because you need a search warrant. You would need a search warrant to draw blood. Let's say there's a DUI crash, happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in the hospital, I'm at Northwich Hospital, I wanna draw your blood. I need to get a warrant.
What if you have an appointment like at the courthouse and you miss it and you get another one? What if you didn't?
Oh, that's totally different, that's a clerk matter. Okay, all right, let's keep going. Which of the following elements of crime means guilty mind? What is guilty mind? Just tell me. Mens rea. Mens rea, right? So the answer to 42 is mens rea. If you see guilty mind, you know it's mens rea. What term describes an offense not yet completed? This is a legal term. This is in your book. What legal term means offense not completed? Yes, that's it. Say it out loud. Incohate. And that's the Latin for what? Incomplete. You didn't finish it. So what would be an example of incohate? Oh, sorry about that. Let me spell it for you. INCHOATE. Here's your example. I'm robbing a bank, and this young lady is a police officer, and she stops me before I even get the money in my bag. Can she still get me for attempted robbery?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but the crime is not completed yet, so it's incorrect. All right, so that's why she's not getting me for robbery, she's getting me for attempted robbery. Okay, see how that works? Okay, and that's because she stopped me. I didn't complete the task, so I didn't complete the robbery. Okay, which of the following would not be categorized as a felony? Oh wait, sorry, let me back up. Okay, so number 44, I almost skipped this. Which state had the first modern police agency? This is in your book. Which state had the first modern state police agency? First modern state police agency. Is it Maryland?
No.
Virginia? New York? Maybe, pretty close. Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania had the first modern state police agency, followed by New York. Or maybe Massachusetts, I have to look that up. It's either New York or Massachusetts. Which of the following would not be categorized as a felony? Not categorized as a felony. Murder, is that a felony?
Yes.
Rape, is that a felony?
Yes.
Yes. Who said no? Robbery, is that a felony? Yes. Okay. Petty theft. Okay, so petty theft would be a misdemeanor. Okay. Guilty act is Guilty act is actus reus. Very good. Okay, so that's the answer 46 is actus reus. Which, each of the following offenses falls under the category of larceny except, so each of the following offenses, I'm going to give you the offenses, falls under the category of larceny except, so what is not larceny? Purse snatching, larceny, right? Okay. Bicycle theft, larceny. Okay, larceny is a minor offense. Okay. Shoplifting, robbery. So robbery is not larceny. Okay. During arrest and before questioning, defendants are usually advised of their Miranda rights. Miranda rights, very good. The answer to 48 is Miranda rights. Okay. A blank issued by a judge provides the legal basis for an apprehension of suspects by police. Very good. What kind of order? Court order. What do we call that? An arrest? Warrant. Very good. So a blank issued by a judge provides the legal basis for an apprehension of suspect or suspects by police. And that's a warrant. So a warrant is a court order, right? A writ is a legal order. A warrant is a court order. And remember, a warrant can only be issued by a judge. A writ can be issued by any member of the bar, any attorney, or court. A criminal offense, this is the last question. You guys are free to go after this. I'll stick around if you have any other questions. A criminal offense committed against a person, property, or society that is motivated in whole or in part by the offender's bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or national origin is called hate crime. Very good, that's it. Hate crime, I just defined what a hate crime is. Okay, questions? 50 questions, they're all multiple choice. Now you know what to study, just go over that. And you will see it again on Wednesday.
I feel like I'm not gonna study for the SAT.
You guys should be,
I'm not stressed.
those of you that have commitments on Wednesday, you should be in and out in 30 minutes. All of you should be done with this exam in probably 30 minutes or less.
So then I can go 30 minutes? I think I would need like a whole hour. It's 50 questions. What the?
But they're all multiple choice, and we just went over every question.
Anything
Whatever. I
else?
don't know that. I'm just gonna guess.
You look
All right,
got
thanks,
Oregon
guys.
this weekend.
Oh, you want Oregon?
I went to Oregon. Everything there is so cheap.
Really?
Oh my god, this was $7.
I mean, it's because